She's married now, but I'm the one she keeps coming back to. If she really chose him, then why am I still the one she calls at midnight? I'm not proud of this story, but I'm not hiding from it either, because sometimes life throws you into a space where right and wrong start to blur. And love, real love, doesn't always follow the rules. I never planned to see her again. Emily, the girl I once thought I'd marry, and the one I lost when everything in our lives pulled us in opposite directions. I thought we had closed that door for good. But 3 years later, there she was, standing in line at a coffee shop in Portland. Same soft smile, same nervous way she tucked her hair behind her ear. And just like that, it all came flooding back. She's married now. Life's not far from where we met that day. And I should have walked away, but I didn't. And now, I'm here, telling you this not because I want forgiveness, not because I want to justify what we've done, but because I don't know what to do anymore. I've loved her once when it was right, and now, I love her again when it feels terribly wrong. Maybe if I tell you the whole story, from the beginning, someone out there might help me see what I can't. Because it started so quietly. Just a cup of coffee on a rainy afternoon. But that cup of coffee changed everything. And this is how we got here. Let me take you back to that moment at Cova Coffee, SE Grand Avenue. Portland was gray that day, the kind of gray that makes you remember people you used to love. It wasn't supposed to be anything. Not more than a few minutes of small talk over espresso. But I knew when she said my nummy still carried warmth. And when I said hers, it caught in my throat. Emily, back in college, we were that couple everyone thought would last forever. We met during our freshman year at Portland State, shared a class, a playlist, 100 late-night walks through Laurelhurst Park. She made me believe in the kind of love you read about, but don't think actually happens. But life had its own plans. She was offered a marketing job in Seattle after graduation. I stayed behind in Portland to care for my mom, who had just been diagnosed with early-stage Parkinson's. We tried long distance. We tried so hard. But two people clinging to a love in two different cities eventually lose their grip. We broke up quietly. No fights, no blame. Just a quiet heartbreak of two people saying goodbye to something good because they couldn't carry it anymore. I didn't see her again for 3 years. Didn't follow her on social media. Didn't ask about her through friends. I tried to move on. I dated. I worked. And I told myself she had too. So when I saw her again at Cova Coffee, I thought the universe was playing tricks on me. She was married. I saw the ring or I saw the smile. And yet, she hugged me like I was still her person. I remember the way her voice dipped when she said, "It's been too long, hasn't it?" We talked for 20 minutes. She told me she lived nearby, just off Belmont Street. That her husband was a doctor, works long shifts at the hospital. That she sometimes missed the old days. I laughed. I tried to keep things light. But inside, my stomach twisted like I was 19 again, trying to find the words to ask her out for the first time. Before she left, she touched my arm. A simple gesture, but it lingered. That night, she texted me, said it was good to see me. I replied, "It was really good to see you too." And that was it. At least, it should have been. But sometimes, memories aren't just things we keep. Sometimes, they keep us. Over the next few weeks, we started talking more. Little things at first. How's your mom? Do you still go to Laurelhurst sometimes? Remember that place with the terrible nachos and the best milkshakes? I told myself it was harmless. just two old friends catching up. But deep down, I knew better. I could feel it slipping in through the cracks. Not just nostalgia, not just curiosity, longing. One Saturday, she asked if I wanted to meet for a walk. We hadn't seen each other since the coffee shop. I told myself I was just being polite, that I didn't expect anything. But the moment I saw her standing by the entrance to Laurelhurst Park, in the same gray coat she used to wear, I knew. I hadn't stopped loving her. Not really. Not ever. And that walk? That's when everything shifted. It started with one walk, then a second, then one night, we didn't say goodbye. It started with one walk, then another, then one night, we didn't say goodbye. We stood by her car. It was late, quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you say things you probably shouldn't. I missed you, she said. And I told her the truth. I never stopped. Her eyes softened, but they also looked scared. We were both standing too close, breathing the same silence. And then she kissed me. It was brief, gentle, familiar. It felt like coming home and breaking in at the same time. That kiss unraveled everything we'd tried to keep intact. She pulled back first. "I'm sorry," she whispered. But I wasn't. Not then. From that night on, we started meeting more often. Always with excuses. Coffee on a Thursday. A quick walk on Sunday mornings before her husband got off his shift. A movie we both wanted to see anyway. But it didn't stay innocent for long. The lines blurred quickly. There were hands held too long. Words said too softly. And then, one night, she came to my place. I didn't ask questions. Didn't need to. She walked in like she'd been there 100 times before. Kicked off her shoes. Curled up on my couch. And looked at me like she was asking for permission to stay. We didn't talk about what it meant. We didn't dare. The next morning, she was gone before sunrise. She left a note. "Thank you for not asking me to explain. It should have ended there. A one-time slip, a moment of weakness. But the heart doesn't work like that. It remembers what it wants and ignores what it shouldn't. The second time wasn't even questioned, nor the third. Eventually, I stopped counting. I rented a small place off Maple Avenue. Nothing fancy, just one bedroom and a soft couch she liked to nap on. It became our space. Half refuge, half secret. There was laughter, old playlists, inside jokes from college that still made her laugh like the girl I once knew. But there was also guilt. Thick, heavy, constant. Every time I watched her button her coat and leave, it felt like I was losing her all over again. I started to ask questions. What are we doing? Does this mean anything? Would you ever leave him? And every time, she'd avoid the answer. She'd kiss me instead, or trace circles on my arm until I forgot I had asked. And I let her, because pretending was easier than hearing what I already knew. She never lied, but she never promised anything either. One night, I asked her if I still loved him. She hesitated. "I care about him. I do, but it's not the same. With you, it's always been different." It should have comforted me. Instead, it wrecked me. I wasn't just her escape. I was her emotional home. But still, not her life. And I started to wonder, was I doing this out of love or out of fear that no one else would make me feel this way again? I tried to pull away, suggested we take a break, that she figure things out. She nodded, said she understood. And then the next night, she showed up at my door, wet from the rain, shaking, and all I did was let her in. That's when I stopped pretending I could walk away and started admitting I was already in too deep. That's when I stopped pretending I could walk away and started admitting I was already in too deep. Emily became a quiet part of my life, like a breath I never said out loud. We didn't see each other every day, but when we did, it felt like the only thing that was real. The Maple Avenue apartment turned into a middle ground. Not hers, not mine, just ours. A hiding place where no one called her wife, and no one expected me to be someone else. But the silence outside those walls, it started to eat at me. I'd wake up alone after she slipped out before sunrise, and I'd lie there wondering what she was going home to. Did he know? Did he suspect? Was she hugging him the same way she hugged me? I told myself not to care, that I had no right. But the truth was, I did care, because I was in love with a woman who didn't belong to me, and I wanted her to. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching some random show we never finished, I asked again, "Do you ever think about leaving?" She didn't look at me. She just said, "Sometimes." I pressed, "And if you did, would it be for me?" She turned her head then, finally looked at me. "I don't know." 3 words. Soft, quiet, but they echoed louder than any argument we ever had. After that, things changed. Not drastically, but enough for me to feel it. Her texts came a little later. Her visits a little shorter. The warmth still lingered, but so did the hesitation. And I hated that I noticed. I hated that I counted minutes and overanalyzed emojis. I hated who I was becoming, an echo of a man pacing between love and insecurity. I started doubting everything. Not her feelings, but my place in them. She told me she couldn't give more, that she had to protect what she'd already built. "But what about what we've built?" I asked. She looked away. Sometimes we sat in silence so thick I could hear my own heartbeat. And sometimes that silence felt more honest than anything either of us could say. One night, we sat in her car just outside Laurelhurst Park. It was raining again. She didn't say a word, just leaned her head on my shoulder. For those few minutes, nothing else existed. No husband, no apartment, no guilt. Just 2 people, still trying to find their way back to something that no longer fit the world they lived in. And yet, I clung to that moment, because it was real, and because it reminded me that even if I didn't have all of her, I still had pieces. But the pieces weren't enough. Later that week, she told me her husband had started asking questions. Why she was coming home late. Why she seemed distracted. She laughed when she said it. Told me how easily she made up excuses. But when she looked down, I saw her hands trembling. I didn't say anything, just held them, because in that moment, I realized she was scared too. Not just of getting caught, but of what we'd become. I knew I should step back, give her space, force a decision. But every time I tried, she called. Every time I stayed away, she showed up. And every time I let her in, I started to wonder, was this still love, or just fear of being alone? And what if I was the only one asking that question? I started to wonder, was this still love, or just fear of being alone? And what if I was the only one asking that question? The truth is, I wanted her. All of her. Not just Thursdays, not just stolen hours. I wanted the version of us that didn't have to hide. But she never offered that. Not once. Even in our most intimate moments, she never said, "I'll leave him. I choose you. Instead, she gave me fragments. Midnight laughter, soft apologies, lingering touches before the door closed behind her. And somehow, I convinced myself it was enough. That if I stayed long enough, patient enough, gentle enough, she'd see that I was worth choosing. I once bought her a silver necklace. Simple, subtle, something she could wear without drawing attention. I never gave it to her. It sat in my drawer for weeks, then months. Eventually, I stopped opening that drawer at all. One night, she came over later than usual. Said she had a fight with her husband. I didn't ask what about. She curled into me on the couch, tears still on her cheeks. And I held her, like I always did. But something inside me snapped. Not in anger, not even in sadness, just exhaustion. I pulled back and looked at her. I can't keep doing this, I said. She blinked, like she didn't expect me to ever say that out loud. I love you, I continued, but I don't know what this is anymore. I don't know what I am to you. She didn't answer, just stared at the floor. After a long silence, she whispered, "You're the only place I feel like myself." It broke me, because it was beautiful, and it wasn't enough. I asked again, "Will you ever leave him?" She shook her head. "I'm not brave like that," she said. "I can't hurt him." "But you're hurting me," I replied. She closed her eyes, and for a second, I thought she might say something else. Something final, something clear. But she didn't. She just reached for my hand, and like a fool, I let her hold it. A week passed, then another. She still came by, still smiled that same broken smile, still kissed me like I was oxygen, still left before dawn. And I still let her. That's the part I hate admitting the most. It wasn't just her fault. It was mine too. Because even when I knew I was breaking, I kept handing her the pieces. Sometimes I think I stayed because it was easier than starting over. Sometimes I think I stayed because I was addicted to the ache. And sometimes I think I stayed because I was afraid that no one else would make me feel this much. Even if it was hurting me. Even if it was killing me. I didn't leave. She didn't choose. And somehow, we both kept pretending that was okay. I didn't leave. She didn't choose. And somehow, we both kept pretending that was okay. The days blur now. Some weeks, we don't see each other at all. Others, she texts me late when he's working a night shift or when she's had a bad day. It's always the same words. "Can I come over?" And I never say no, even when I want to. Even when I know that letting her in means pushing myself further out of who I used to be. We still meet at the apartment on Maple Avenue. It's become more ritual than romance. She takes off her shoes by the door, pours herself a glass of water, sits on the couch in silence. Sometimes we talk, but more often we don't. We just exist in this little bubble of false comfort. And the worst part? It still feels better than anything else I've known. I've stopped bringing up the future. Stopped asking if she's made a decision, because I already know the answer. And I can't take hearing it again. She once said, "I think we broke something in each other that we don't know how to fix." I didn't respond, because I didn't know if she meant us, or just herself. I started noticing things. The way she checks the clock constantly. The way she avoids eye contact when she's leaving. The way she flinches slightly when her phone buzzes. Guilt lives in her skin now. And maybe in mine too. I've tried to distract myself. Dating, working late, taking long walks down SE Hawthorne, headphones in, pretending I'm someone else. But nothing fills the space she leaves behind. Because it's not just her I miss when she's gone. It's who I used to be. I used to be someone with boundaries, with self-respect, with clarity. Now, I'm someone who waits for a married woman to show up at his door. Someone who's built a life around a maybe. Someone who clings to 3 a.m. texts like they're proof of love. Sometimes I watch her sleep, not in a creepy way, just quiet. Like I'm trying to memorize the shape of something I know I can't keep. And sometimes I wonder, does she do the same with him? That thought alone should be enough to make me walk away. But it's not. Because love, when it's twisted up in memory and longing and years of what if, doesn't follow logic. It just holds on, even when it shouldn't. There are nights I lie awake and imagine her telling him. Imagine the fallout. Imagine him knocking on my door with questions I don't know how to answer. But mostly, I imagine her choosing me. Walking in, bags packed, eyes clear. Saying, I'm ready. It's a fantasy I don't even believe in anymore. But it's one I still hold on to. Because letting go means accepting that all of this was never leading anywhere. It was always a circle, and I'm still spinning inside it. People say love is patient, that it waits, that it forgives, but I don't know anymore. Maybe love also traps you. Maybe love, when it's unfinished, becomes a weight you carry alone. And I've been carrying this for a long time. That's why I'm telling this story now, because I don't know how to carry it alone anymore. That's why I'm telling this story now, because I don't know how to carry it alone anymore. I've loved her in silence, loved her in shadows, loved her in a way that asks for nothing yet aches for everything. I'm not proud of what we've done, but I'm not ashamed of how I felt. Because what we had, whatever you want to call it, was real. At least to me. There were moments when I truly believed we'd find a way. Moments when her touch told me things her words never could. Moments when I saw life that was just out of reach, but still close enough to hurt. But here's the hardest part. She's not the villain in this story. And I don't think I am either. We're just two people, stuck in a complicated love that was once pure, then broken, and now adrift. I still see her sometimes, still feel everything, but I've stopped expecting change. And that, maybe, is the saddest truth of all, because I'm still here, still choosing her, even when she won't choose me. I don't know how to stop. I don't know if I should. And I don't know what any of this makes me. Foolish? Faithful? Somewhere in between? People always say, if they wanted to, they would. But what if they do want to, and just can't? What if the love is real, but the life doesn't fit? I'm not asking for judgment, not looking for sympathy, just honesty. Because maybe you've been here too. Maybe not in the same way, but in that space where your heart is split between what is and what could have been. If you were me, would you stay? Keep loving her from the shadows? Hold on to the pieces because they're all you have left? Or would you walk away finally and start over? And if you've ever walked away from someone you couldn't stop loving, how did you do it? How did you breathe again without that person in your world? Because I'd like to believe it's possible that one day I'll wake up and the ache won't be the first thing I feel. That I'll look at the door and not wish she'd walk through it. That I'll stop writing these thoughts down just to feel less alone in them. But for now, I'm here. In the in-between. Still trying. Still hurting. Still hoping maybe too much. And maybe you can help me figure out what comes next. If this story stirred something in you, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts. Share your truth. Maybe someone else needs it, too. If this felt familiar, if you've ever been caught between memory and reality, tell me, what would you do if you were me?